This one is about a strange development, but before I go into that, let me tell you a little bit about Dutschke.org. Join the truth community. It's Dutschke.org is really the support page, and it has lots of information. It's loaded with information to help you better understand all of this. There are links to petitions on it that are going to help you advocate for the truth, run by supporters. There are links to my award-winning, no joke, music, including the new Robodrum album called Best of Dutschke, which includes some of the songs that were written for and featured on television and movies, national commercials, promotions, compilations, CDs. If you're into that sort of thing, you know, anybody who likes music, especially if you're a guitarist, I encourage you to check that out at Dutschke.org. It's run by supporters. There are links to the Real Dutschke YouTube channel. I don't have to tell you a lot about that because you're already here. That one, run by supporters. Links to the Facebook page, run by supporters. Links to my books. I suggest Amazon because it's best on Amazon, including a book called How God Does It, which is a physics book, macrophysics, which marries quantum mechanics with special relativity. If you're science-minded or know someone who is, I highly suggest you get that one. Plus, it helps me out a lot. And it includes my thesis, Eggshell Expression. That one's $199, so buy a bunch. Wonderful Christmas gift. And it includes the Bean Counter saga, which at the moment is B.B. Quincy and the Green Dragon and B.B. Quincy and the Cyclops, which are #1 bestsellers in their category, Spycom, which makes it easy, though, because that category only has one in it. It's the only ones in that category, but I'm not going to tell you that part. And there are 2 more Quincy's coming soon, plus the prequel Dead Wrong, which is not a Spycom. That one's on there, too. All of that run by a supporter and run by Amazon. Thank you, Jeff Bezos. Thank you, Amazon. But it all helps to support the truth and the legal filings, which, in case you don't know, they actually cost $500 every time you file something, a filing fee of $500 in order to discourage poor people from, being able to be successful using the courts. There's a lot going on at Dutschke.com. Thank you for your support. Now, let me talk about this strange development that I feel kind of compelled to ponder with you. If you care to listen for a moment, we can ponder it together. Now, the truth is starting to be revealed, and now that that's happening, and I say starting because 3 hours, even commercial-free, can't come anywhere close to actually getting into the details of matters. Anyway, now that the truth is starting to come out, it kind of has painted Kevin Curtis and the others into a bit of a corner, and as a result, they're all trying desperately now, scrambling to modify their already changed narrative. And here's one which really perplexes me. This one's kind of new. I've heard secondhand from more than one person, actually, that interviewers are now getting the impression from Paul Kevin Curtis that he is
This call is from a federal prison.
trying to present that he was an asset of mine that I then kind of threw under the bus in a betrayal. And I assure you that's completely untrue. But from what I gather, he's essentially saying that in 2013, he was trying to help me. Or at least that's what his interviewers believe is this new development. Now, given his extreme animus of the past against me, who on earth would believe that? Obviously, he's not trying to fool me because I know better. But has he ever given the impression that he wants to help? Absolutely not. Publicly, he's always practically advocated for public hanging. And by the way, public hangings always seem super cool as long as it's somebody else, right? But then I also personally know of several occasions where behind the scenes he actually has acted in a way that makes it look like he's trying to help. That's empathizing. It's really just an approach, really. In fact, it's actually one of the first steps of recruiting that is taught at the farm, ERBI. Empathize, relate, befriend, inquire. But I wonder how many people are actually going to fall for that new narrative. One thing is for sure, though. It's going to cause a problem, and it already is, for the DOJ and the FBI and the prosecution machine that were kind of invested in their snake oil story that they sold you, that you bought, by the way, in 2013. For example, I remember when I learned that the FBI knew that the 3 KC letter envelopes came from a home in Birmingham, Alabama, which was not associated with me. And I recall thinking, even at the time, that since they're admitting that to my attorney, why aren't they telling the press that? Why aren't they telling that to the judge? Why do they keep hiding that? Why do they keep hiding things, which, by the way, is against the law? Or at least, why are they not telling the press? Because actually, I think that Judge Aycock knew that, but just didn't care. Just like I think she actually knew the claims about my murdering an FBI agent was also false, as was the claim of intimidating witnesses and smuggling and a copycat mailing. Those were all false claims, and I think she knew that the whole time. But she went along with their lies intentionally, even long after Stephen Thomason, the special agent in charge of my case, was fired from it, specifically for fabricating those claims. Even after the same agent was eventually relieved of his FBI badge altogether. She even kept up the ruse, and I think knowingly. Let me back up. By the way, I said the 3 KC letter envelopes. I really might have meant 2, because I have serious doubts about the authenticity of the Sadie Holland letter, the one that Jim Skinny Johnson just happened to have in an office drawer of his. Weird. That one has never smelled right to me, plus it's Jim Johnson, who's a liar, who lies. That's what makes him a liar. Anyway, this brings me to my point. There is a solution here to all of this. Put everybody on the box. Polygraph everyone who was involved, and even those who are kind of stowaways on this case. And by stowaways, what I mean is those people who aren't involved and know nothing, but for some reason they seek out the cameras and always have something to say about this case. And the cameras don't mind. Stowaways like Steve Holland, clueless, not involved. Laura Curtis, clueless, not involved. Jack Curtis, also not involved. They kind of seek out the cameras, and the media finds them so that they can run their mouths as if they're somehow invested. They're not. Or are they? Why is it important to those people, those uninvolved media whores, that they act like they were somehow a part of all of this? Let's put them all on the box, all of them, all of us, because you can't beat a polygraph despite what you see on TV, despite what you see on movies or books. There's no tack in the shoe trick that works, nothing. In fact, one of my good friends, former CIA station chief and division chief, he just got out of prison after a long sentences, I guess I should say, that resulted from a routine polygraph. And even the Russians tried to teach him how to beat it. You can't. It was failed polygraphs, which in this very case, my very case, caused the bogus extraneous claims against me cooked up by Thomason to fall apart. And that's why the FBI canned him. Though somehow he still got Aycock to co-sign the lies, even without the convictions or indictment even. So it should include her too. Put her on the box. Lie detector test for all of us. I still have some friends in the business. I'll pay for it. I'll write up the questions myself. What do you think? Anyway, circling back to my original point, the reason they're all modifying their stories now, none of which were ever in total agreement anyway, is because they now know that they're being exposed, and not just Kevin Curtis either. The problem is, every time they concoct a new tale or modify one, they reach not just beyond belief, but beyond what's...
This call is from a federal prison.
Part 1, where I left off was, I was saying the problem is that every single time they concoct a new tale, or they modify one, they not only are reaching beyond belief, but beyond what's possible. And I understand, like I said, how the public is kind of gullible, maybe by choice. The public seems to need its illusions, and having some bad guy, some boogeyman, some other person always, somehow seems to validate the public's appetite. I get that. I don't like it. It's a sad state of the human condition, but it seems to be the way that it is. Psychologically, your ego seems to need me to be your bad guy of the week, which, by the way, is a role I don't know how to play. But does it upset your apple cart when you learn that it was actually somebody else, not the bad guy that you were told, but other people who kind of needed you to think so? Listen, in the late 90s, should have learned my lesson. In the late 90s, I was sued for patent infringement for an airflow controller design of mine that I had put into practical use and actually began manufacturing. A vacuum cleaner company said that my design, my patent, was derivative, and I was issued a cease and desist. I had to stop manufacturing. It actually ended up causing me to kind of go broke at that time. I had to sign an NDA. I withdrew my patent. I was intimidated into the entire thing. I later learned that their design was actually more derivative too. It was really just a bullying tactic that they had used against me, using the courts and the legal system to essentially just shut me down. Of course, it was, probably a war that I kind of instigated when I stole some of their marketing people, poached them. But I capitulated because I didn't have the money to drag out that long, expensive court battle. And that's just civil court. They essentially had bought a judge as an ally through their attorneys. The deck was stacked. And the criminal court is even worse. I should have learned my lesson back then, but I didn't. Even though this now has happened to me in 2013, and even though I'm still living it to this day, I still struggle to believe it, only because I don't want it to be true, but the deck really is stacked. In the last 10 years, from the beginning, I haven't changed my story. Not at all. I haven't had to. There's an actual transcript record of that. I haven't had to change my story, but the truth is fine with me. I don't have to change from the truth. Even though back then I didn't have a chance to tell it. The only ones that were allowed to do the talking back then to the the pathetic press was the hit people, the media hit people, was those people that clearly had an agenda to put me away and to keep me silenced. But I want you to notice, it's their story which keeps changing or being modified or whatever. They are the ones who hid the relevant details and keep changing the story. So polygraph or not, you tell me, why do you think that is? In the course of all of this, you're going to learn that there was a lot of stuff that they hid from you, the public. There was a lot of things that they used in order to make that happen, like the SAM order. Definitely going to cover that. Here's something you should really keep in mind. When someone is trying to hide something from you, a government in particular, it's because they have something to hide. All right, so for the day, that's my 3 chords in the truth.